our children.
I call Nikki Kay.
I'm very pleased to speak in this budget debate. And the first thing that I want to talk about is courage. Last night, and in relation to the budget, last night I heard a speech about courage. And when we think about courage, we think about accepting reality and accepting the situations in New Zealand that may not be things that we're proud of, but also making the hard calls for New Zealand. And what I can tell you about this budget is that we are not only accepting reality about our place in the world and some of the issues that we've had in the past, but we are also implementing policy that mean many young people in New Zealand will actually have a future and making the hard calls for New Zealand that we need to make. And I want to talk about some of those today. And I also want to say, Mr. Speaker, that there is a clear contrast in this House. There is a clear contrast in this House between an opposition whose strategy around this budget, Mr. Speaker, is deny, oppose and hope, compared to the hard decisions. They have denied the situation that they left us in with regard to our economic situation, and we are addressing this within the budget. They have opposed many economic issues that we are proposing within this budget, and they are hoping that everything will be okay. And I want to just address some of the issues and some of the initiatives that we have in this budget that mean that we have a real economic plan for this country. The first thing that I want to talk about as Chair of Education Science Select Committee is our tertiary system and with the changes that we are making. We acknowledge that we have one of the most generous tertiary support systems in the world, and if we want many of our young people to have a future, to have high-paying jobs, we have to shift expenditure into research funds, into areas like science and technology. We have announced a $326 million initiative in this budget around research and technology. We have also announced a number of changes to the student loan system, and what that is about is freeing up funds so that we can invest more in research and our tertiary system. And what that means is rather than people coming out of university with high debts that they will never be able to pay off because they will never be able to get the jobs that will be in high-paying jobs like research and innovation, we are saying we need to spend that money on research within our tertiary institution, and we also need to make sure that we are spending that money in those areas like agriculture. Some of those other areas might be digital media, so that we actually can create industries that have high-paying jobs. Mr. Speaker, you compare that to the opposition, who firstly have opposed everything from labour law changes to tax reform changes to mixed ownership changes to investment in infrastructure. And when you look at the rest of our economic plan, which again is highlighted in initiatives in this budget, we also focus on a massive investment in infrastructure. So we acknowledge that if you want to make if you want to change, sorry, not you, Mr. Speaker, if we want our country to be better, then not only do we have to shift funds within our tertiary education system, we also have to invest in infrastructure. And you will see in this budget, it is reflected whether it's in our $1.5 billion broadband fund, whether it's in our roads of national significance, which is about ensuring goods get to market quicker, whether it's in the tax reform changes that we are making. In this budget, you will see, Mr. Speaker, there is $1.36 billion that is coming out of revenue around closing up tax loopholes. And what that's saying to New Zealanders is that we believe in fairness, and we believe that if we really want to have a future for our young people, we not only need to reform our tax system, we need to invest in infrastructure, we need to ensure we reprioritise in areas like science and innovation, but we also need to make changes within our education system. And it comes back to the point that I made before, which is that if we want a country that has a future, we need to make sure that we don't allow 1 in 5 kids to leave our education system not being able to read. And that is actually appalling. And now I want to just cover a few initiatives within this budget with regard to education. So what we are saying is we acknowledge that there is a very difficult financial situation, not only in New Zealand but also around the world. And if we want to be secure, we have to have zero budgets, we have to make sure we reduce debt, we have to pay our own way in the world, and the way that we do that is we have to reprioritise expenditure. So what we're saying is we know New Zealanders in their own homes understand the situation that they have to make choices. And some of the choices that we are making in education is to say that we know that if we spend more in investing in, if we invest more in teacher training and professional development, then we can actually raise the level of achievement more. And I want to give you an example. I want to give you an example of a place that I visited recently, the Best Pacific Institute. And in the budget, there were 3,000 additional places around the Youth Guarantee. And I am incredibly proud of that because I want to tell you about these kids. A number of these children, and some of them came through our education system in the last 12 years, so members opposite who want to crow about caring about people who are poor, these kids came out of our education system not being able to read and write. No one in this house should be proud of that. And I am proud that through our Youth Guarantee system, we are giving them a future. We are giving 3,000 more places within our Youth Guarantee system to say to those kids, we will ensure that you can get some basic NCEA qualifications because actually we didn't do our job in our education system before that. And that is the kind of initiative within this budget that is about creating a future. Creating a future where young people actually leave our education system being able to read and write, being able to go into professions that have high-paying jobs. And I want to touch on that again. Again, you're seeing a very clear contrast between this side of the house, that whether it is our investment in infrastructure, whether it is the reshifting of funds in our tertiary education system, whether it is a huge package, and I want to show you a graph here around science and innovation, because this, Mr. Speaker, is what we are spending on science and innovation. You can see it going up, regardless of the tax credit that the Labour Party talk about so much. We are clearly prioritising in very difficult financial times as a result of this budget to say, actually, if our country wants to earn more money, then we know that that is going to be in areas that are high-tech. We know that we need to spend $160 million, and I want to address one of the initiatives that we have announced, the Advanced High Tech Institute. That is a massive initiative that says that we will spend over $100 million on investing in good science and research that is going to enable our industries to be able to sell high-value products to the rest of the world. Again, it's about priorities, Mr. Speaker. On this side of the House, we understand that with the incredible situation that's been happening around the world, with the fact that we went into recession before the rest of the world, and we were staring down the barrel of a decade of deficits, that actually it's not okay to just have a strategy which is deny that everything is happening, oppose everything, and hope that everything will be okay. It's actually about choices, Mr. Speaker. And this budget, whether it is in the education area, whether it is in the economic area, whether it is in the health area, New Zealanders know that actually it is about choices, and there are hard calls to make, and it comes back to what I said before. It's about courage. It's about being able to stand up to New Zealanders and saying, we don't have any blank cheques to write. We have to get the money from somewhere. And what I can say is that I am confident, I am actually very confident, that when you look at where we have got the money for in various parts of the budget, that actually we have prioritised areas like our most vulnerable, like if you look at these kids in the Youth Guarantee Scheme, 3,000 more places as a result of the budget, like the $326 million that we have found in science innovation. This is about creating a future for our young people that ensures that we earn our way in the world, that ensures they have higher paying jobs, that ensures they can actually leave our schools being able to read and write, and ensures that for those young people that may have come through the system under the last Labour government and can't, that we will get them back on their feet and we will ensure that they can get into work, because we know not only their futures but the futures of their children are dependent on us actually waking up and realising that the world has changed, that we have to make choices, and those choices, some of them are hard, but they're about reprioritising expenditure. Every single line that you see within our budget is about understanding that the world has changed and making those choices, and you compare that to the opposition of deny, oppose and hope. And Mr. Speaker, I'm very pleased. I came back to stand for Parliament. I was in London working, and I came back to stand because I truly do believe that that we have a great leader and that we have principles within our party that actually recognise the economic situation that the world faces. And we have prioritised to ensure that young people in New Zealand are going to have a future.
I call Chris Farfoy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.